Welcome to the Destiny Lore Series Rise of Iron trailer analysis. This leaked this morning by a Snapchat ad.
We thought we were indestructible.
So this did come from Snapchat, so it looks kind of terrible. I'll also put a link down below if the video is still up, but this does come out later on today. This is Lord Saladin, we think. We're like 99% sure this is Lord Saladin. It looks like they've redone some textures on his armor, maybe got up a bit more, because he is going to be a pivotal character in this new DLC, because it is called Rise of Iron, and we know it has to do with the Iron Lords, and the Tomb of Iron, which we'll get to later on, and the Plague Lands, and this new Fallen, and the Plague itself. We're going to talk about all that coming up, but I like how Lord Saladin looks. I love the fact that he's becoming a pivotal character. I always thought he was just such a badass, so I like seeing him in this new DLC.
The Lords of Iron. We swore we would do anything to protect the last city.
So this, I believe, is, well, I'm pretty sure this is the wall of the city, and it's been smashed in here. And what's it been smashed in by? Well, that's hard to say. Probably the Plagued Fallen, which we'll see coming up here in a minute. But I think it's interesting that the wall's smashed in. Are we going to see like a break in the tower? Is something going to happen to the tower or the rest of the city? Are we going to have stuff revolving around that? Because now that they're through, they could possibly be attacking us in our home. We don't know. I hope it's kind of true. It would actually create a lot of interesting stuff going on within campaign missions and stuff like that. Add some chaos into the mix. We always have the tower as a safe place, and I'd kind of like to see that shook up a little bit.
Some of us paid the ultimate price. I am all that remains.
So this is the new Fallen, the Plagued Fallen. Also, by the way, some people are speculating we'll get wolf pets, but they're gonna hide some features from us, obviously. Maybe we'll find out more in today's live stream. But these new Fallen, and this is a view of the Plague Lands. This is an entirely new zone, supposedly, that's been brought down by this plague. It's barren, it's a wasteland, and we'll see some other stuff later on that's pretty interesting, but it's also occupied by these Plagued Fallen. So I think it's going to be really cool to see this barren wasteland, like more so than it already is on the rest of Earth. This is what's beyond the wall. I'm really interested in seeing what this is. So this, I'm super interested in this right here because this looks like the reef. Whenever we see Marasov the first time, we walk along a super similar bridge, which was taken or Fallen themed, excuse me. And then this was her central chambers. Marasov is dead. I wonder if we're going to revisit this to see her. Well, her brother's dead too, isn't she? Damn. Why would we go here? And it's red. Again, this whole red theme with the plague, and you can see the wires constricting around it. Maybe they take over the reef. That would actually be pretty interesting itself. Fallen houses, as we've learned in the House of Wolves DLC, fallen houses will take over other houses and be a dominant house and then lead the rest of the fallen. So perhaps this is what the plagued fallen are trying to do currently, and maybe this is why it's like this. They've taken over the reef, and maybe we'll have an assault on the reef.
We thought we had sealed away the plague for...
Okay, so this is interesting. This looks like a Rasputin computing core. There's a couple more screenshots or pieces of video coming up after this that looks like we're all going back into Rasputin, and I love when we go back into Rasputin's area. Rasputin is probably one of the most interesting characters in Destiny to me because he is actually an AI that saw the darkness when it came. He recorded it, and he was programmed to make sure humanity survives. Actually, he was programmed to make sure the Traveler survives at all cost. Even at the sacrifice of humans. So much, as a matter of fact, that planets like Titan, one of Saturn's moons, which we had occupied at the time, Rasputin let Titan fall, and he analyzed the battle with the darkness to learn how he could protect the Traveler against the darkness. That's the kind of mind Rasputin has, and Rasputin was also awoken back up by the mysterious Exo lady from the future, an elite group of Exos. When are they going to come back into play? I hope they come back into play in Destiny 2 because they are super interesting. But anything with Rasputin, I'm on board. Rasputin is a super interesting character to me, and I really can't wait to actually see more about him and visit new chambers with his and learn new things with him, and maybe he had a doing in this Plagued Fallen stuff.
Eternity. But
So this looks like there's a couple areas that look pretty similar to this. And I'm sure we're going to go back and revisit some old areas that are going to have kind of a theme change on them, just like we did with the Taken. They reused some areas to some great effect, really, to get the piece of Crota's soul. There's a lot of places that we know are like, wow, this place looks spectacular, but wasn't really used. So I'm hoping that this is kind of like another one of those things. This area looks really familiar. Maybe they'll go back and reuse a lot of areas to spectacular fashion. I'm alright with it as long as they use it into spectacular fashion. They've done it in not so spectacular fashion before.
now it has returned. And
Alright, so I love the look of the new enemies. I love how they just like randomly warp in like that. We know the Fallen captains have a short-range teleportation ability, and generally Fallen, they kind of teleport in sometimes, or they come in off their drop ships. I think we're going to see a mix of that with the Fallen, and it's really interesting. Like this plague, it seems to be cannibalizing them in a mechanical sense. Like all the Fallen we see, they're more mechanical. I would bet a little bit of money that this is a Fallen captain version of Plagued Fallen. Yeah, I would bet that this is a Plagued Fallen captain, and I bet you we're going to get Plagued variants of all the different Fallen enemies, which is about 4 or 5 that we normally fight as ground troops, Fallen Shanks, Thralls, maybe a couple other variants there, or maybe, they're definitely a new enemy type altogether, and I really like the teleportation effect that they have. It makes it seem like they're almost being ingested into a cyber world, which you'll see what I'm talking about here in a minute. It looks very cyberpunky, this effect does. So I'm really curious as to what this plague is exactly.
this time,
Yeah, this is more that effect that I was talking about. Like I said, it seems all digitized, and we've seen this before with Vex technology. Like, if you put a blue scheme over this red color, this would look like Vex technology with its pixelated digital blue effect, right? So I'm really curious to see what this actual, like, what is this plague actually, you know?
with a fallen army.
I love Lord Saladin looking smug. Like, the fact that he looks smug kind of tells me they're going to add more character to him, and because he is going to be a central themed character here in this DLC, and he just seems like such a badass. So like he's smug. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna beat your bitch ass. I'm in love with this right now because I've always wanted Saladin to kind of be a focal point character. They never did enough with him with just the Iron Banner, in my opinion, because he's so much more badass than Shaxx. Picking sides.
It is time to avenge my brothers and sisters. Stand with me, Guardian. Prove
So he says, avenge my brothers and sisters, in that last line. Go back and listen to all the dialogue, it's really interesting. But I think he is talking about the rest of the Lords of Iron. Now this is a better full frontal shot of the Plagued Fallen. They all have peg legs. Now, Dregs have their arms, cut off, which is what these guys are, except they're plague versions of them. Dregs have their arms cut off, and then there's a ceremony they can go through later on where they can regrow their arms. This is all Destiny lore. You can read it in the Grimoire cards. Once they've proven themselves in battle. But they never, like, cannibalize their legs, and it looks like these guys have a lot of wires running through them, and they're wearing a helmet now, it looks like, but they're still using some fallen weaponry. So, like, this plague must have a serious effect on them, like flesh eating or something like that. But the fact that it seems like they're very much compensating with technology. I wonder if the plague is nanites or some kind of nano plague. Nanotechnology that's just like consuming organic material that we created as a defense weapon, or that Rasputin used as a defense weapon. And so it does this to them. Or they have to compensate with their own technology so that they're actually able to be viable in combat.
yourself worthy, and the Iron Lords will rise again.
So this is obviously once a ski resort, but there's some pretty large locale spreads here, okay? So even though there's a lot of snow we see, but we see the wall, okay? And we see the wall broken down, and we're climbing on top of the wall at one point, we're fighting back and forth through the wall at one point. Then we see this, we're on top of a mountain. This is pretty significant elevation change. So there's either multiple zones, or it's all one big giant cascading zone, which would be really cool. But the fact that we're going on top of a mountain, like, okay, what's at the top of the mountain? I'm super stoked for these locales, and I really actually hope that we get like some cool snow blind effect in here where we can't see too far forward, or maybe there's like a lost mechanic where we have to fight our way through, or find our way through rather. Super interested in this location. This looks like an abandoned missile silo. We are in Russia, remember? That's where the city's located, and so is the Traveler. An abandoned missile silo or an abandoned launch silo is very possible. We have some maps based on abandoned missile silos, so I think they're going to be reusing some assets from PvP maps, or just in general. I mean, the general theme of Earth is kind of like this as well, so yeah, like I said, we're going to have a lot of different locales here, I think, that we're going to visit in a lot of different environments. Okay, so who the fuck is she? And where the fuck is this? So, she looks like a Lord of Iron, honestly. And I have another freeze frame coming up of the area that she's in. I love her armor. It's very ornate, fur patterned, everything like that. It's very Iron Banner-esque. Let's go ahead and jump to the next. So, this. I think this is a tomb or a ceremony ground. We can see statues of what I presume are other Lords of Iron in the past, meaning there are multiples, and that Lords of Iron seem to be... Like, we know there are Titan clans. We know there are different sects of Titan clans, which we learned when we got the soul tree for Titans. So maybe this is another one of those clans of Titans, because she looks like she's wearing Titan armor. Lord Saladin's a Titan. It always seemed to cater a little bit more towards Titans to me personally. Yeah, I'm super interested in this. I think that this is going to be talking about the story of, which, if you go back and watch a previous lore series I had, I can't remember the name, but it was a Grimoire card. It was a ghost that had a Grimoire card found inside the Prison of Elders, which talked about the first Titan, which came with the new 420 or 325, it's 330 light update, right? So I think this is going to talk heavily about the history of Titans, and if they do this, it'll be pretty interesting to do the history of Warlocks, which we've gotten some of that history before. Hopefully they kind of tell origin stories of the Titans, the Hunters, and the Warlocks, and maybe this is the Titan origin story. So, as I was saying, a lot of different locales. Right, so we were on top of a mountain that was a ski resort, and then we see this image, which is a Titan firing what looks like a scout rifle, and then there's lava behind him. Like, okay, yeah, just lava behind him. So yeah, a lot of new locales. Maybe we're going to visit a volcano. Maybe that's what's at the top of the mountain. This armor looks dope as fuck. Like, this armor looks, I want this. I don't care what it is. Whatever the new light level is, I'll be wearing this armor at that. It looks very, Rasputin based, very technology based, with all the hard edges and the angles and the fins and the rings, and I love the look of this armor. It looks like almost made out of carbon fiber. I'm so excited for this. And that's not to say the new Hunter armor doesn't look too shabby either, honestly. I love the shoulder pauldrons, and I love the cloak that goes over top of his head that has kind of like the wolf ears, or the ears. I think it would be wolf-based, because this is all, Rise of Iron, Wolves, the Iron Banner, right? Crest of Alpha Lupe. Yeah, I'm just in love with these new armors. They don't show any Warlock armor off there, which is suspicious. Okay, new raid. So here we are on top of the wall to the city, obviously. It's a 6-player, this is the raid, because this is 6 people, so maybe this is us going towards the entrance to the raid. Destiny is always, Bungie's always made kind of like elaborate entrances to get into their raid. Not necessarily elaborate, but the first challenge isn't necessarily a boss. It's more or less usually some kind of skill check, not necessarily a gear check. The Dark Run was kind of a gear check. Yeah, it's somewhat a gear check, but it's a bit more of a puzzle. The gear check boss usually comes later, where it's like, okay, basically, can you do enough DPS to kill this guy in this amount of time? So yeah, their entrances are pretty elaborate. I imagine we're gonna have to do some fancy stuff here to actually get inside the raid, which is, I'm always looking forward to new raids. This looks like maybe more part of the raid. We're still on the whole raid subject here. Maybe a break in the wall. There's a bridge that cross over. Again, the whole raid's gonna be Fallen themed, which I think will be really cool. A proper Fallen themed raid, as opposed to the Prison of Elders, was gonna be nice. This bad boy. I think this is going to be the entrance boss. So, he doesn't look too much like a boss. He actually looks more like a wall that moves across this platform, because he spreads out across the whole thing. He's definitely Fallen based. You can see Fallen technology on there with the flamethrowers and everything like that. You'll see in a minute he has a big smashing arm on that right hand side. I think this guy is going to be how we get in, basically, and I think we're going to have some kind of mechanic of running back and forth and him moving up and down. And Destiny raid mechanics have always been really, really good, and it's exciting to see them do something with more environmental design. The Taken King had one of the best raids because it was very heavily environmentally based in terms of how the mechanics works, and not just pick up an item, hold X, do this. Because we have such great movement options with our characters, blink and double jump and floaty jump and all that shit, and glide, and that allows us to do a lot more platforming things within our raids' mechanics, which works out particularly well. So I'm pretty interested to see what this is, especially this. Looking at this, if you ever played World of Warcraft, Naxxramas, this kind of looks like it's going to remind me of the Safety Dance. If you don't know what the Safety Dance is, it was basically a room where you had to run from one side to the other during a certain amount of time and then not move, and it looks interesting. Now, this looks pretty spectacular. Like I was saying, new locales. This looks like a giant fallen fortress, and we know that the raid kind of takes place on the wall, maybe inside the wall. So maybe this fallen fortress is part of the story quest line. It looks awesome. I'm super excited for this whole Plague Lands, which is what the new area is supposedly called. We'll find out more today in the live stream. And the mountains and the lava field. I love looking at this and seeing new locales, new organic locales. I never really liked the Dreadnought and the Taken locales because it was just really, really dark to me. And I think Destiny shines the best when you put us out in an open, expansive, bright environment. The moon was one of my favorite environments on the exterior because they made it very apparent. The moon and Venus are probably my two favorite planets, environments to go through. But on the moon, they made it very apparent that there's a lot of really cool shit around here, but they still gave it, like that bleakness. And then they showed you, look, there's more out there, we're just not going to go to it. So the open environments, being outside, I think is where Destiny environments really, really shine. This might be a fusion rifle. Kind of looks like it the way it charges up and the wires glow on it. But it's new. It's made by Omnilon, but it has that plagued look to it with the red wires. So are we gonna get plagued weapons? Along with the 3 main weapon providers that there currently are. I think that'll be very cool, especially if they have a unique mechanical twist to them. I'm super interested. And finally, the last weapon. I'm just gonna slow this down for you guys. The axe looks more like an axe than a hammer to me. And this is probably its ultimate ability, big smashdown explosion. But that's going to do it for this analysis trailer of Rise of Iron, which was leaked this morning on Instagram or Snapchat, one of the two. I'm super excited for it. Oh yeah, this thing, back in black, but for pre-order. I'm not going to bitch too much about that. They're probably gonna not make it super OP like the original was, sad face. But hey, it is a Galahorn back in black. I'm sure we're gonna get a ton more new exotics that are probably gonna be better than that thing anyway. So we'll see, maybe, who knows. But yeah, the whole thing, I'm super excited for it. I can't wait for the reveal stream later on today. And this is giving me a lot of to look forward to this September. Destiny is probably my favorite game when it has new content to go through. When it doesn't have new content for like a whole fucking year, Bungie, it gets pretty ball. It gets pretty ball. Ball is life. No, it gets pretty boring and dull. And yeah, new content. To put it into reference, this update is 14 gigs. That's what it's expected to be when it got leaked on the Xbox Live Store. The Taken King was 18 gigs. So the Taken King was a little bit larger. Now that might have had to do with like previous gen network compatibility stuff, whatever, not entirely sure. But the Taken King is not much larger than this if we're going to go by that. But different things can take up different space. There was a lot more detail that went into the interiors of the Dreadnought. So I think it's fair to say that this is going to be pretty close to how large the Taken King was. One last final note. It does say when it leaked on the Xbox Live Store, which I don't have an image for, and I apologize for that currently, but it did not mention a new level increase. It mentioned only a new light level increase, which I would actually be more in favor of as opposed to a new level increase. Because I don't like level increases where you got to grind out all the XP. It's like a max level already, you know. I like where we sit right now comfortably at 40. It's a good level to be at. But the new light level increase, I like, because I think it's going to allow them to gear content more towards light level and create more of a branched progression system for us as we play through, as opposed to you have to be level this to do this. And it's like, oh, well, I got to go grind up level. And it's just like, well, no, you only have to get the loot, and you'll get the loot through doing storied questing as it is anyway. So I'm in favor of the new light level only progression system. However, that's just my speculation, not confirmed. That's just about going to do it for us here. If you guys did enjoy the video, feel free to hit that like button and let me know down below what are your thoughts on this. Are you excited for this? Did you notice something that I didn't? Point it out. I would love to like look at stuff I didn't notice, of course. Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch down below for you guys if you'd like to check those out, as well as Patreon and Greenman Gaming referral link for you guys if you'd like to support the channel. You can also sub if you'd like to. I'm Guns. This has been the Rise of Iron trailer analysis. I'm way more excited for September than I was before. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you later.